Distinguished comrades and friends, today we are all, willingly or unwillingly, part of the decisive battle of the world history, battle for the new world. The question is whether the human civilization can survive and win, or the mankind will disappear under the burden of criminal oligarchic dictatorship. For all of us, only the first answer is possible. The new world is being led by Russia and China, and it is, of course, a socialist one. Russia and China overrun the West in all aspects, without any colonization or war, in just a few decades. They learned, developed, and applied all the best achievements of the human civilization. They became an emanation of the human creativity, which is a collective act and is certainly more effective as a harmonic cooperation than as competition and slave work. Their main advantage is spiritual and moral values, indifference to the criminal system, misusing the human weaknesses and spreading the conflicts all over. So their victory is total and eternal. Centuries-old people's belief that the socialist society will be superior in everything is being realized before our eyes. The only desperate answer of the Western oligarchy is war. So we are facing 2 European wars already, against the Serbs in 1990s and against the Russians now. General conditions of these European wars are connected with the centuries-long Western attempt to legitimize evil and create an artificial balance between evil and good. Concrete conditions in recent decades are connected with the most developed and applied technologies for manipulation with human consciousness. What is so special about the Russians and Serbs, and recently Chinese, to become main targets of the anti-civilization? Love, solidarity, collective spirit, common good are the main principles of original Christianity and of Confucianism as well. Plus, there is a common experience in anti-fascist struggle and in building socialism. Orthodox Christianity is closest to the original one, and it also includes experience in culture and nation and state building. Orthodox concept of nation is much older and more spiritual one than the Western one. Serbs and Russians are the Testament nations. With the appearance of their autocephalous churches in 13th to 15th century, Serbs and Russians define themselves much more in spiritual and moral terms than in legal, genetic, material, or territorial. Besides, their states were successors of the Byzantine Empire that the West attempted to destroy. Serbian Empire in the Balkans in 14th century turned to be a transitory historical episode, but the Russian Empire, USSR, Russian Federation remained to be the biggest country in the world history until now. Serbs and Russians continued to interact in all the dramatic moments of European history. In short, for many centuries, the world of effective human values and the Orthodox Christian world, in the first place, became the biggest existential challenge for the Western oligarchic dictatorship or anti-civilization. The very existence of Russia and Serbia and China makes the Western supremacy impossible. For the Western mega criminals, it is either we run the world or nothing. And they are right. Their mega crimes are so big that they just cannot survive in any real legal system. Just remember many millions of killed people in crusades, colonial wars, world wars, US, NATO, Middle East aggressions, until the recent European wars against the Serbs and Russians. With the US lead in the Western world, the West evolved from the main destructive and aggressive factor into a malignancy. Use of fascism, terrorism, subversion, and media war, combined with historical revisionism and misuse of international organization and international judiciary, were the methods applied by the West against the Serbs in breaking up of Yugoslavia and in NATO aggression in 1990s. Plus, they were already training the Europe to act against herself. Just remember cutting the Danube traffic by destroying several bridges. Anyhow, we remained undefeated since we were led by Slobodan Milosevic, a man symbol of anti-globalism, as he was described by Alexander Zinoviev. Policy of Serbia under Milosevic was in every aspect the policy conducted by Russia and China now, the policy of the New World. That's why we should always remember and further investigate and promote the Serbian heroism and achievement of that time, and even more, we should permanently remind now the whole world, including the Serbs themselves, about the importance of their resistance, already called the Second Kosovo Battle. For that aim, we should support stronger activity of the Milosevic International Committee. So, the proxy war in the former Ukraine is the last and desperate attempt performed with the same methods, but with no chances for success, of the mega criminals to turn the history back. And like in the Second World War, they sacrificed us, the European peoples, to their anti-human appetites. The possible outcomes can be only two. First, the victory of Russia and of the New World, or second, the destruction of the life on earth. And it seems it is upon all decent people, and again upon us, the Europeans, to help the first outcome and save the humanity, and to make the second outcome impossible. The largest and perhaps the only global consensus in human history was reached in the condemnation of fascism. The victory over fascism shaped the generally valid system of international law and international relations. Today, as in the 90s, we have a political confrontation between two permanent members of the UN Security Council, Russia and China, who would like to preserve the system based on the victory over fascism, with the remaining three, the USA, Great Britain and France, in which part of the ruling oligarchy devalues the victory of fascism, cooperates with the fascists, and tries to continue the fascist war against Serbia and Russia. However, between the war of the 90s and this one today, there is one important difference. In the First European War, in the former Yugoslavia, the Serbs managed to remain undefeated by the incomparably military stronger NATO, and that at the time of unipolarism. In the Second European War, in the former Ukraine, however, Russia will defeat NATO in the time of multipolarism. Russia, China, and the majority of humanity will liquidate the Western aggressive hegemony and punish its crimes. We also have to fight against historical revisionism. The current war clearly shows that historical revisionism is a tool of the fascists, their accomplices and sponsors, and there can be no justification for it. So we have to organize, struggle, and welcome the new world, a just, multipolar, and multilateral world based on the international law, equality, cooperation, social justice, and true democracy. And that is the community of the common destiny for mankind. In the new world, the majority of humanity is prospering and establishing connections, and the Western oligarchy opposing ruins itself and its peoples. The new free world accumulated the positive experience of all mankind, and it has a place for everyone. We invite the Western peoples, who are increasingly becoming victims of their oligarchy, to the new world, and wish them a speedy liberation. The new world is a strong and organized rule of good over evil. So let's stand together for the quick, total, and final victory of the new world over fascism and anti-humanism. Until victory.